The Botanist's Reckoning. I stood at the threshold of my childhood home, the door creaking open like a forgotten memory. It had been years, but the walls still bore the echo of laughter, laughter that had turned to scorn the last time I had crossed this threshold. A botanist in this economy? You'll be a laughingstock! My father's words rang in my ears, the disdain palpable. I took a deep breath, clutching the bundle of wildflowers in my hands. These weren't just flowers. They were symbols of resilience, of a life I had painstakingly built after being shunned from the academic community for daring to dream beyond the confines of accepted science. It all started when I presented my groundbreaking climate research at a prestigious conference. I was filled with hope, ready to unveil my findings on urban foraging and its potential to combat food deserts. But instead of applause, I faced ridicule. A prominent scientist, my mentor, stole my work, presenting it as his own. When I protested, I was dismissed, labeled as an embarrassment, a kid playing in a sandbox while the adults were working. With my dreams in tatters, I turned to the wild plants that grew between the cracks of the city's concrete. I sought solace in the forgotten corners of urban landscapes, transforming my pain into purpose. I studied the healing properties of dandelions and the nourishment of nettles. I became a community botanist, teaching others how to reclaim their relationship with nature and heal their bodies through the forgotten wisdom of plant medicine. As I traveled the country, helping communities grow food where there once was none, I found my calling, not just to heal the land, but to heal people. I turned barren lots into thriving gardens and empowered families to rediscover the power of nature. I was no longer the laughingstock. I was a beacon of hope. But home was still a place of shadows, and I needed to confront my past. With each step toward that door, I felt the weight of my family's skepticism. Would they see me as the success I had become, or would they still view me as the foolish child who chased a ridiculous dream? Stepping inside, I was greeted by silence. The familiar scent of baked bread wafted through the air, but the warmth that once filled this house felt distant. My mother's eyes widened in shock as she recognized me. "You're here?" she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. "Mom, Dad," I said, trying to keep the tremor from my voice, "I've come to show you something." I motioned for them to follow me outside. They hesitated, exchanging glances filled with confusion and disbelief. But curiosity won, and they stepped into the backyard. What they found there would forever change the way they viewed me. Before them lay a vibrant garden, a riot of colors and scents. A once desolate patch of earth had been transformed into a lush sanctuary of native plants, vegetables, and herbs. I had spent years cultivating this space, a testament to what I had learned and what I believed in. "This is amazing," my mother said, her eyes wide with shock. But it was my father who stood stone-faced, arms crossed, as if bracing himself against an invisible force. "I've turned these barren lands into thriving ecosystems," I explained, my voice steady but my heart racing. "I teach people how to forage, how to heal. I've worked with communities across the country to create food security where it seemed impossible." My father snorted, the sound sharp and dismissive. "You think this is real work, playing with weeds?" It felt like a punch to the gut, but I took a deep breath. "Dad, these weeds are life. They're food, medicine, and they've changed lives. I've helped people who couldn't afford groceries. I've empowered them to grow their own food. This isn't just a garden, it's hope." And then, as if the universe had conspired to make a point, a group of children from the neighborhood burst into the yard, their laughter ringing like music. They rushed to me, faces beaming, clutching baskets filled with wild plants they had gathered. "Look what we found, Miss Ainsley!" they shouted, their voices filled with joy. In that moment, my father's expression shifted. He watched as I knelt beside the children, guiding them in the intricate art of plant identification, laughter spilling from our lips. The garden pulsed with life, bursts of color and sound that filled the air with a vibrancy that echoed my own journey. It was then that my father stepped forward, his stern demeanor cracking like an old facade. I didn't know," he murmured, his voice suddenly heavy with realization. "I didn't see how important this is." I felt a rush of emotions, relief, pride, and something deeper, a connection with the man who had once doubted me. "It's never too late to understand," I replied softly, offering him a sprig of mint. "You can still learn. We can all learn." The air shifted, and for the first time I saw my family not as the harsh critics of my dreams, but as individuals capable of growth and change, just like the plants I nurtured. I smiled, a genuine smile that came from the depths of my heart. We're all a work in progress, right? As I stood there among the laughter of children and the vibrant life of my garden, I knew I had transcended the doubts of my past. I had turned my pain into purpose, and in doing so had reclaimed my worth, not just for myself but for the community that had embraced me. Together, we would continue to grow, heal, and learn, just as nature intended.